first of all, I just wanted to say welcome to everyone. My name is Danny Fisher, and I teach biology at the college. And my colleague Dave is going to be speaking in just a few minutes, and he teaches earth science and geology, and if I'm not wrong, astronomy also at the college.
That is correct.
But where we're going to start is with some general information and then a little more information about specifically biology. Then we'll transition to talking about the geosciences, I guess I should say, and then end with some general information. So I wanted to start with this idea that science is everywhere. And so we would like you to come to our facilities to study the science that'll enable you to study a variety of things. And I'll talk about some of the career fields you could potentially go into in my presentation under the umbrella of biology, but I'll also point out how some of our incredible facilities will help get you there, as well as the teaching from faculty like me and Dave. So moving forward, why should you start here? I feel like I did not start at a community college and I missed a huge opportunity in not doing that. The best thing about being at Waubonsee as both, I think, a teacher and a student is that our class sizes are small and our whole job as faculty is teaching students. So we don't have the other demands of, for example, doing research like maybe faculty would at a four-year institution. So there's a lot of interaction between teachers and students. Also, I think you can't help but mention the affordability. And so here on this slide, it compares Waubonsee tuition and cost per credit hour with Aurora University and NIU. They're compared to those institutions, not only because our students attend those institutions in large numbers, but also you can compare two-year Waubonsee to a public Illinois institution and then also to a private Illinois institution. And so in comparison to both, the cost to attend us here is much, much less. But I would say you will be getting equal to and more by coming to our school. So in the affordability vein, in addition to the low cost of tuition, we can also help you to apply for financial aid. We have a whole department that specializes in just that. Also, there are things like scholarships. They mention here the community or our Waubonsee Community College Foundation scholarships. And those are usually small awards. So they could be a couple $100 to maybe $500 to aid a student to going to school. However, there are also private scholarships that are available to even defray the cost more than the foundation scholarship and or financial aid would. We also have multiple divisions on our campus that can allow you to remove obstacles. We have programs like TRIO, which helps students, for example, that are first generation students or students that have some sort of learning disability to help them in the classroom and navigate college life. But then we also have, for all students, a wide variety of modalities. So we have courses on our campus taught now in face-to-face modalities, which are the most traditional, to online, which could be asynchronous, which means that you would have no set class meeting time, to synchronous, which would mean you have class meeting times and then other content or work to do online. Hybrid, which is partially online and then partially in the classroom, or flex. And both Dave and I this summer are teaching online courses. I'm moving to teach both Sync Online and hybrid courses come this fall. So I think COVID has actually helped us or encouraged us to open many more modalities. We also, I sat in on a conversation about career and technical education classes today and how they assess prior learning, prior experience to gain college credit, but we can also gain prior learning you've taken at the high school level and also through exams to apply that to see how much college credit you can earn before you even sit in our classroom. And then, like I said before, I mentioned TRIO, but we also have a robust tutoring program and things like tech support at our college. Now, I think the most important point, if you're looking as a parent or a potential student at coming to Waubonsee, is will my classes transfer? And what you're looking for in the classes that you take are what are called IAI codes. IAI stands for Illinois Articulation Initiative. And so when you take classes with these codes, automatically they will transfer to schools within Illinois, but also in our surrounding state, or also they have good transferability to schools in our surrounding states. Now, if you're wondering, does this transfer? We have plenty of counselors and advisors. And keep in mind that counseling and advising can help you with things like transferability, but it can also help you with career prep. It can also help you with personal counseling. And so all of these things can make your experience here and transferability go just that much more smoothly. Now, I'm a biology teacher and I have been, I'm just finishing my 15th year at the college. And so what's important to me is that students get what they need to perhaps be a biology major from when they start as their first semester freshman and to get out as quickly as they can. Now, why I say as perhaps a biology major is we also have many pre-med, pre-dent, pre-vet students that fall under that kind of biology major umbrella, and they would take this same transfer degree pathway. And so this is really just a guide of what you should take when, again, to kind of streamline the time you're spending here, and then to get you to transfer to a four-year institution. And I'll talk about in just a minute how an associate's degree in biology, or in science, I guess I should say, is helpful. You will definitely need to go on to earn a bachelor's degree or perhaps even a graduate degree to work in the field. And that's what pre-dent, pre-health, pre-vet majors are anticipating, starting with an associate's degree. But we also have, like I said, with transferability, guides that tell you what classes you need to take so that you can enter a college as a junior. And so if you want to get 2 years of education here and transfer into Illinois State as a junior, these are the classes you're going to need to take to do that. And this works well if you have a plan. But if not, again, our counseling and advising can help you. Now, here are the things that are near and dear to my heart and the reasons why I think you should study biology with me, or more specifically with us at Waubonsee Community College. So our labs here are fantastic. I started at the college in 2006 and our science building was built in the same year. So it's a very new building and we've recently done some renovations so that our facilities will rival or flat out beat what you could get at a four-year institution. A couple of things I wanted to point out is that we have a thermocycler in our Principles of Biology 1 lab. So that's the first semester majors course lab. And this allows the students to do the polymerase chain reaction. You might have heard PCR in the development, for example, of the COVID-19 vaccines that hopefully you all are getting. And then on the right, it shows our digital microscopes. These microscopes are awesome because not only can you look through them and see a live image, but you can also capture digital images just like on your phone and video, which, I mean, compared to the microscopes I used in college, this is light years ahead. As for those renovated labs, you can see this is our A&P lab. And so A&P stands for Anatomy and Physiology. These are the lab floors that are newly renovated. And I was told that they're not necessarily non-slip, but they have a texture to them so that they make it easier to work in the lab without slipping. Also, they feel more comfortable on your feet. And when you're on your feet for hours and hours a day, I think that's super helpful. One of the reasons you might be on your feet is because you're taking a cadaver focus class. And so here are the tanks for the 6 cadavers we have in order to teach anatomy and physiology. We have 5 right now, and then the 6th is actually coming this week. And so not all institutions have that cadaver focus in their anatomy and physiology courses. Also, although I'm not an anatomist or a physiologist, I'm more of an ecologist, this really resonates with me. Our campus is beautiful if you've never been there. And so these are my students. Ben and Jacob are in this picture. And we're actually in the creek, Blackberry Creek, that's on the north side of our campus. And so what's really cool is being able to use that beautiful campus, not just to look at, but as an outdoor classroom. And if you don't literally want to get your feet wet, we have other ecosystems on our campus. We have things like the wetlands that are behind the student center, and those are federally protected. And we also have Huntoon Lake or Pond in the middle of our campus. So the end is more like, why would you study science? And so with things like COVID-19, things like nursing, pharmacy, lab tech, anything that's in the medical realm are more in demand. However, if you're not studying one of those in-demand fields, you can still apply the skills learned in your first 2-year general education classes to a wide variety of studies within biology. For example, things like I mentioned pre-vet before, becoming an educator in a traditional or a non-traditional setting, forensic science, etc. And so I actually went on Google, and I don't know if you've ever done this before, but I typed in, what can I do with a biology degree? And it doesn't just tell you that, but it tells you how to do it and I live in Elburn. And so I looked for jobs you could actually get around here right now and what they're paying. And so, as I mentioned before, medicine is where it's at. So jobs for medical scientists, clinical lab scientists, technicians of both clinical and health, they have jobs available, and these range from $36,000 to $87,000. Now, you might be saying, well, how about the $87,000? As I mentioned before, you'll have to secure at least a bachelor's degree to do this work, and a graduate degree would be encouraged or required for some of the higher earning positions. And that would be true of something like a biomedical engineer. But again, around here, around Elburn, you could get hired with a salary of $104,000. And here's the source that I got those recent statistics from.
Thank you very much, Danny, for a great presentation on the biology, bioscience, geosciences. I'm going to talk to you about the geosciences, geology, astronomy, geography, meteorology, oceanography are all sort of what we would lump into what we call the geosciences. One of the key things that we do in the geosciences, we get outside, we go on field trips, and we have some great fun. Students often are often lucky enough to collect fossils at some of our field trip locations. So what does a geoscientist do? We basically obviously study the Earth. And as you're aware, we have this lots of critical issues that geologists are keenly trained in identifying and fixing, such as groundwater supply, mineral resources, climate change, energy resources. As I speak now, it's just now starting to rain at my home, so studying the rain events. So geoscientists study a lot of subjects that influence us on a daily basis. So what do, as a career, you're lots of choices. You can see that the climatologists, meteorologists, different kinds of environmental scientists, geographers, atmospheric scientists, hydrologists, and they all study different things. So Danny was talking about biology. So geology is an interesting subject in that it's kind of a hybrid science in a sense. So if you're interested in biology and you want to study geology, you could be a paleontologist. If you're interested in physics and you want to study geology, you can study earthquakes. If you're interested in mathematics, there's lots of other choices for you. So there's a lot of choices that you can make in the geosciences that combine 1 to 3 to 4 interests if you're clever enough. So where are you going to get a job as a geoscientist? Industry, oil companies are hiring a lot. We know that there's environmental science, environmental geology companies in Northeast Illinois are hiring. In fact, I went to a session event at Northern Illinois University where they had former graduates who are working as environmental geologists come and give a presentation. And I was surprised to see how many firms are actually hiring geologists in the Northeast Kane County area. Of course, you can work in academia, you can be a professor, or lots of government positions. So what's the requirements in terms of education? Associate's degree, most likely a bachelor's degree of some sort, which would be transferring to a 4-year school, which would take another 2 years. Most of these positions require a master's degree, usually, which is 2 years beyond a bachelor's degree. And then many of them, again, depending upon what you want, where you want to go, would perhaps require a PhD, which is perhaps 3 to 9 years or so beyond the master's degree. And I will also tell you that geosciences are in demand. You can see that there's a 4.9% projected growth through 2029, whereas the rest of the economy is projected to grow at somewhat less. It's going to be hard to see, but you can, just like Danny was talking about, you can see that depending upon the degree, you can be earning upwards of 6 figures. Again, the 6 figures positions would require certainly the master's, if not the PhD. So there's a wide variety of positions that are open and will be open through 2029, because basically what's happening is a lot of old people like myself will be retiring very soon, and we need people, young, excited minds to come and replace us to study climate change and energy resources and water treatment and natural hazards and raw materials. So why do you want to start at Waubonsie? Well, we have some one-of-a-kind facilities. And Danny talked about the one-of-a-kind facilities at the biology department. We have that much and more. I have had several people from 4-year schools come and tour our department, and they go, wow, we don't have this here. So coming to Waubonsie and study geosciences, you'll get to work with prepare your fossils, just like they do in museums. We have some stream table. We have groundwater wells where Danny mentioned the wetlands, which is just south of campus, where we do experiments monitoring the water table. We have a seismometer where you can monitor the earthquakes on a daily basis. We have a very extensive fossil collection, which is shown here, that we use in all our classes. We have real-time weather station. We have the state-of-the-art GIS, which is Geographic Information System, which is a great mapping tool. All our faculty are engaging. We are here because we want to teach. We love to teach, and we want you to be an excited student in our classes. And our classes aren't boring. We do a lot of group activities. We use a lot of technology. We use clickers. We use laptops. And yes, we will probably ask you to use your phone in class. Which is probably unusual. Most people don't want students to use their phones, but we may ask you to use a phone. Other reasons, again, the lab classes, I think they're fun, and I think the students, most of my students think they're fun as well. With all those facilities, we have students doing research projects where they go on to do a presentation in the Skyway, which is a group of Northern Illinois community colleges, and they give a poster session, and you can see a former student giving a presentation there. And many of our STEM research projects are winners. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And we have multiple transfer schools with lots of career options. Again, we have some very specialized facilities that many 4-year schools don't have. So we have our seismometer that is recording earthquakes 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We've been recording earthquakes for about 9 years now, and we're on the order of something like 2,000 earthquakes that we've recorded all around the world. Literally on the other side of the earth, we can record earthquakes at Waubonsie. We have the stream table, which is a great illustration tool in labs, and students find that a lot of fun. So we have groundwater wells, and so here's some maintenance project that we had recently on replacing groundwater wells. And we have computers that are dedicated for that geographic information system, and for meteorology classes, geography classes. Again, facilities that are not present in four-year schools. We have some pretty close partnerships. We have a project called the Aurora Mastodon Project, where we have students analyze matrix from the Mastodon dig that was back in 2006. So we have some basically doing real science, cutting edge science. I do a lot of work with the geology department at NIU. We had there's a program now where a student can apply for a research opportunity to go to Estonia, and you can see a photograph of Roxana Garcia, who was a recent participant in that. So she got to spend the summer in Estonia doing climate change research. So that's an ongoing project that's continuing. We have many graduates transfer to NIU very successfully, and again are employed locally. Again, we have lots of 2+2 agreements, the geosciences with Eastern Illinois, and not a formal one, but certainly an informal agreement with NIU. What do you have to do next? Well, you go to the waubonsie.edu/steps and look at the steps that you will need to do to apply. There's no obligation for for new student application. Again, somebody will follow up with you to make sure all your questions are answered. You will need to complete the FAFSA form. The FAFSA form is a form that it asks for family financial information. Is kept confidential, but it's used to determine financial need for scholarships. Many scholarships are based upon financial need, and that's what you need a FAFSA form. So there are some scholarships that are not based upon financial need. Just as a note, registration for summer is open. Again, as Danny mentioned, that there are several options online, synchronous versus asynchronous. There are some in-person classes, and they fill up fast. So don't forget to register early. And you can see that if you register for Bio 101 or 250, Bio 250, Chem 101, Chem 121, Chem 122, this summer you will receive a free lab kit. And we have registration for fall just opened up today. Classes are filling up, so register early, and then our fall semester begins August 23rd. So that's the biology and the geosciences very quickly. If you have any questions, Danny and I will obviously be more than happy to answer any and all questions that you might have. If you don't want to ask a question here, please send us an email to dvorhees@waubonsie.edu or dfisher@waubonsie.edu. Or, of course, you can see the waubonsie.edu /admissions for general admissions questions, and then waubonsie.edu /financial aid for financial aid questions.
Well, with that, I'll say good night.
Good night. Have a good night, and thank you for coming by. Hope to see you.